But after the bell, the big story is the executive shuffle at Disney. CEO Bob Iger stepping down immediately. He will be now the executive chairman at the company. Bob Chapek, who had been running the company's parks business, stepping in as CEO. Dan, what do you make of the move?
Well, there's a lot to unpack here. As many people are pointing out, and I think this is the first reaction, he's going out on top. I mean, he has had an incredible run. You would have a lot of trouble finding someone who does not think
of a lifetime.
That Bob Iger has been a great CEO, mostly characterized by huge acquisitions. We all know what they are. Marvel, Pixar, Lucasfilm, which got them Star Wars, and then, of course, most recently, Fox. But Iger had twice, maybe even 3 times in the last few years, extended his tenure. He was supposed to step down as CEO already more than 2.5 years ago, and most recently, he extended through what was supposed to be the end of 2020. And in fact, in his book, Miles jokingly referenced, that came out last year, his memoir, he said that the reason he extended through end of 2020 was that Rupert Murdoch told him, I'm not going to sell you Fox unless I know that you'll be there to helm it and see through the transition. So Iger committed to being CEO through the end of 2020. Here we are at really the beginning of 2020, and he's suddenly stepping down. So it's hard to conclude what that means. Now, I don't think they and Iger do anything hastily. So I'm sure this has been in the works for at least a little while. They didn't suddenly today, he didn't call someone and say, all right, actually, I'm going to step down today. They have known that this would be his successor. But why today? Interestingly, we just started to see reports of analysts, I think, a little bit souring on Disney Plus, saying that the growth has peaked. I don't know if that's even true, but I would say Disney Plus is relevant in the sense that he goes out after at least for now, very successful, ambitious move into streaming. They've got ESPN Plus, they've got Disney Plus. He has been pushing DTC, direct-to-consumer, for over a year. He really put the company in a good place in terms of its media and digital strategy. And now he's like, all right, next up.
So something that I brought up, and I'd be interested for your thoughts on this, as I was just kind of riffing on what this means. Like, we have a number of big changes coming with ESPN and ABC and where the sports rights might go and who's going to be the key negotiator there. And now Iger is the executive chairman through 2021. And I suppose if you're at loggerheads with the NFL, Bob Iger can call Roger Goodell and say, hey, let's work this out. But he is not the CEO. I mean, does that change Disney's negotiating position or their strategy? Because I think everyone assumed, oh, they're going to try to buy the Thursday game, maybe a set of Sunday games. They're going to put it on ABC. But is that different now that Iger isn't the CEO?
Well, I would say it changed more markedly from what I hear when Iger put in place Jimmy Pitaro, who was one of his guys. You know, Pitaro came from the Disney side, not the ESPN side, and he is the ESPN president. He is the one who has really tried to make amends with the NFL. I mean, ESPN's always been in a tough position because they're a business partner of these leagues. They show their games, like with the NBA. They spent a lot on the NBA contract, too. But they also have journalists who sometimes do negative stories about the leagues. That's always been a problem. But Pitaro, reportedly, has really tried to cozy more to the NFL. I don't think that you would see ESPN walk away from Monday Night Football when that contract comes up for renegotiation. I do think it'll be interesting to see how much more games are given to streaming partners, because every time those contracts are renegotiated, more and more of the pie is going to go to tech companies. I still don't think like a company like Amazon is going to take all of Sunday Night Football. Maybe that happens eventually. But in terms of Iger's involvement, it's really supposed to be Jimmy Pitaro on those calls anyway. Now, I do think it's fair to wonder, this new CEO, Bob Chapek, has been running the parks and has been with parks since 2015. Not a TV guy. Now, long before that, he did have a job on the studio side, but not really a media and TV guy, where, remember, Iger started out way at the bottom of ABC Sports, worked his way up when ABC merged with some other company none of us has heard of since. Yeah. Exactly right. And then eventually into Disney buying ABC and merging there. So Iger always was a TV guy. Chapek, no.
But Dan, do you think that this signals maybe a strategic shift then within Disney? Because we talk about the fact that they've been focusing so much on their media properties. They've been growing their content. The huge push, the only thing we've been talking about over the last year is the coming Disney Plus. So do you think this signals any sort of change?
I still think that for all of the companies involved in media and original content in any way, it's all about streaming, and it's all about, having the right film and TV strategy and your digital DTC strategy. That's still the focus. However, it is a reminder, parks is a huge, huge business for Disney. We love to talk about Disney Plus and the streaming and the shows and the movies, especially because the box office has been a dominant run for Disney. But the parks are a huge, profit engine for the company and will continue to be. And Bob Chapek, according to Disney's press release, was pivotal in opening Disneyland Shanghai.
And that said, he's done other things. And Iger's been a fan of moving executives around different places, even when the guessing game was on Tom Staggs and Joe Rizzullo. He remembered moving them all around. For more on Disney, let's bring in Timothy Gesko of Granite Investors Advisors. Timothy, your thoughts on this big move. Would you have expected that this is the way it was going to go down, that we would find out Bob Iger is leaving and who he's put in charge?
Absolutely not. This is Disney. This is one of the greatest show companies on earth. And to just find out after 4 o'clock on a down day in the market that Bob Iger is leaving was somewhat of a shock to us as shareholders. They're usually much more scripted than this.
Why do you think he's leaving now?
Well, I think that's what we remain to see. He is staying on as executive chairman for another year and a half. So there's clearly a lot of time that he plans on helping counsel this transition. I'm not sure why you don't counsel this transition from the CEO role, why one needs to be executive chair. Certainly we hope it's not a health concern or a family concern, but there seems that there might be more to this story than we're hearing so far.
And does anything, Timothy, about this, when you look at what Bob Chapek had been running, does that signal in your mind, a strategic change in the company? I mean, the Disney story has been certainly the success of the box office, the integration with Fox, but what is happening at Disney Plus is really where the street has been focused mostly, and now you're bringing in the guy who runs parks, which a lot of people don't realize that's the biggest part of the business, but it is not where all the attention has been. Does that say anything to you about the potential future of Disney in terms of which assets they emphasize, which assets they don't invest in, which assets they maybe offload?
Right, and I think when you have a company like Disney whose succession plan has been well telegraphed over the past few years, and that Mr. Chapek was one of those people that we expected could take the reins, that you never know why it was now. I don't expect a significant change. Disney is not just theme parks or just broadcasting or just content creation or just distribution. They all work together. They market each other. They sell each other all day long. It's hard to watch an ESPN program without seeing advertising for any of the other Disney properties. So this is a really good media juggernaut with a lot of moving parts. I hope we get to the bottom of why the departure. But this really just makes a very good company a little bit cheaper, maybe for value investors.
Just to let you know, Timothy, the call has started from the West Coast. Bob Iger has been speaking. He hasn't, as you were speculating, is there something more here? Is there another shoe to drop? In his opening comments, he just said that this is the best time to transition. And now Bob Chapek is speaking. Look, maybe Disney Plus just went off without a hitch. Maybe he got Rupert Murdoch's permission to leave early. He had wanted to try and get back to other parts of his life. Is it possible that this really is just a good time to make this transition and that this is the best person to do the job? As an investor, will you go along with that? Like, what kind of runway are you going to give Bob Chapek in this position?
Well, since he's an insider and since he knows the business very well and a large portion of the business very well, we will give him a fair amount of runway. It's also not a turnaround story. It's a transition story to some extent, but certainly not a turnaround story. So we don't expect that in the next quarter we're going to see some massive write-offs or things that we've seen written. We expect a good transition.
On that transition front, obviously, parks are going to have a big challenge in front of them in Asia. We've seen the stock hit on that news. Also, in the streaming wars, I mean, Disney Plus launched with a lot of fanfare. It got a lot of subscribers, but there are so many more names coming out here. We've got HBO still to really enter the fray, and that's just one of the names here. Is there any chance Bob Iger is getting out because he knows there's a lot left to do for this company to keep firing on all cylinders? This is not easy sailing.
It's not easy sailing. It's probably easier sailing for a property like Disney. You've already seen that things like The Mandalorian drive subscriber growth, where there are other companies, look at CBS and Viacom, who are trying to get into the streaming business without a really compelling product that is driving people there. That's been the secret to Netflix growing subscribers. At the end of the day, so far, nobody cares if these businesses are profitable. They just care if they're growing subscribers, and that's what people will continue to look at.
Timothy Lesko jumping on with us, principal at Granite Investment Advisors. Great to get your thoughts on Bob Iger. Moving up, I guess. Dan Roberts, You as well. Any final thoughts here?
Going to be very interesting to get to know Bob Chapek.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.